Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games. I am Harry, and before we go any further, please don't forget to hit the like button down below and subscribe to our channel if you're interested in some more board game related content. Today we have another episode of Monday Metagaming, where I cover industry-wide news, or at least the items that interest me, pique my interest. I also give you some channel updates and announcements, and finally I wrap up with recent gameplays. So without any further ado, let's get straight to the news. So there was 3 news items that caught my eye or caught my attention this week. The first thing is a new expansion for the game Gugong, which is called Panjun. I don't know if I'm saying that correct. Something along those lines, Panjun. Just look at the image up here. So basically, this is an expansion to Gugong, which I have to note is a game that I do not own and have never played, but it is one of the more coveted games on my wish list. I really do hope to get this game sometime, and it's cool to see that it has some expansion material coming out for it. Now, the next news item is another expansion for a game I do own, and that's the Experiences expansion for Pursuit of Happiness. Pursuit of Happiness is one of my favorite games. Nice worker placement game that simulates you living a life and just making all the decisions that are involved in the living of a life. It's been referred to as the game of life for gamers. Really neat game, really cool game. It already has an expansion called Communities, which is a game that I'm getting ready to order real soon. It'll probably show up on a future special delivery. But right now, they're announcing that experiences will be coming out soon. I think this has been announced, in the recent past, but they're reiterating that on BoardGameGeek.com. And that sounds like a very exciting and interesting expansion to this game that I already enjoy. And finally, the last news item is the launch of the Frosthaven Kickstarter. For those of you who don't know, Frosthaven is the sequel to Isaac Childress's blockbuster monstrosity of a hit, Gloomhaven, and it's monstrous in every sense of the word. It's an enormous box. Well, Frosthaven is a sequel or a second edition of sorts, or a part 2 to that very popular game, #1 ranked game on BoardGameGeek.com. And as of the last time that I checked, it may have gone up even more. As of the last time I checked, it's already raised over $6.3 million. That is a lot of money. I think I read somewhere that is probably the highest amount for any board game in the 10 years or so that board games have been funded or backed on Kickstarter. That is an amazing feat, an amazing accomplishment. Again, I do not own Gloomhaven, but it's a game that I definitely want to play. And there's another one coming out, Jaw of the Lion. I don't remember. I know the word lion is somewhere in it, and it's supposed to be like an introductory, almost a smaller condensed form of Gloomhaven for starters and beginners. That's something I might purchase or buy before I invest into Gloomhaven. But I'm definitely, how can you ignore the #1 ranked game? Like, whether you like it or not, or whether it's your cup of tea, it's something that has to catch your eye, at least at some point. You have to flirt with the concept or the idea of getting Gloomhaven because it's #1 ranked. And it's a game that I'm very likely going to get. And if it ends up, tickling my fancy, then Frosthaven looks like I got a part 2 to invest in going down to the future. I do like games that have sequels and just have an never-ending, possibility of growth and replayability. And it sounds like Frosthaven might be able to do that for Gloomhaven or the Gloomhaven universe. So that's the news items. Now we will cover the channel-specific updates. And the first thing I would like to say and celebrate here with you all is that this week I got 10 new subscribers. And now we're up to a total of 61 subscribers. Who knows? You could be number 62. I dare you be number 62. There can only be 162, right? The next one would be 63. So 61 subscribers. So excited, so happy. I've got about 10 weeks doing this channel. So that's really, really new. If you think about it, on average, that's about 6 subscribers. Lots of the subscribers early on were friends and family who I asked to subscribe. But recently, I've been having true organic growth, and I'm very, very excited about that. Also, the channel has now surpassed 3,500 views. So again, really, really cool, really, really excited about how much traffic my videos are getting. Now, some announcements for what's coming up on the channel this week. First of all, just in a few short minutes, I will be posting a video that will let you guys know about my Wingspan giveaway. For those who didn't watch my extra special delivery late last week, I have got a new copy, a brand new, still in the shrink wrap copy of Wingspan that I will be giving away to a lucky winner. And in just a few short minutes, I will be announcing it. If you're catching this video late, it's actually already uploaded, so you might as well check it while you're at it. I will be announcing the details as to how you can sign up to potentially be the winner of this brand new copy of Wingspan. Also, I will be doing tomorrow my top 10 Reiner Knizia designs, Reiner Knizia board games. Last week, I did my top 10 board game designers of all time, and Reiner Knizia ranked relatively high on that list. I won't spoil where, just in case you haven't watched the video. And this week, I'll be zeroing in on Reiner Knizia's career and how, you know, our paths have interacted, which of his designs have spoken to me, and which of his designs, of the ones that I've played, of course, I like best. Also, later on, speaking of Reiner Knizia, later on this week, I will be doing a review of Rhinelander, an older, out-of-print board game of Reiner Knizia that gets very little to no love. I will be posting a review on this channel for the game, just for those people who might be interested and who maybe never played the game or even heard of the game. And that's it as far as channel updates. Now, we will move on to recent plays. Now, of course, finally, the situation, the global situation with COVID-19 and all the social distancing and all the limitations that we have as a society right now has finally started to hit the Gomez family and the Gomez home. This week, only 9 plays. And, you know, again, very, very lucky to even have those. And these 9 are actually not counting the plethora of times that I've played Animal Upon Animal and Spotted and Zingo with my 4-year-old son, Nicholas. As a matter of fact, he had a few days where, you know, due to breaking some rules, we didn't play games at all. That was one of the consequences for breaking the rules. And even so, on all the other days, we played these games so many times that, honestly, I'm not even going to count how many times I've played them. But the games that I played, the 9 plays, consist of 8 plays with my wife Lily, who lives within the same 4 walls as I do, and also a 1 solo play. So let's get first off with the games that I played with Lily. First of all, we played Ticket to Ride Asia a couple times, and Ticket to Ride is a family favorite game. I call us a Ticket to Ride family. It's one of the games that I use to, you know, end that or begin that phrase, we're a such and such family. And it's not necessarily that Ticket to Ride is our favorite game or even within our top 10 favorite games, but it's a game that, due to its replayability, its simplicity, and all the plethora of expansions that it has, we play quite often. And Asia has been one of our favorite maps. I think Lily's gone on record as saying it's her favorite map. I think she likes the geography of it all. She's very into Chinese culture and Chinese language right now. But it's interesting because the one new twist that Ticket to Ride Asia, for those who haven't played, adds is that it adds these mountain routes. And the way a mountain route works is that in order to be able to build on a mountain route, you have to trash or destroy some of your trains from your supply. And you do score a few points for those trains you destroy, but not as much as you would score if you use those trains on a bigger route, let's say. And also, it speeds up the end of the game, right? The more routes you build on a mountainous region, the quicker you'll run out of your supply. And remember, in Ticket to Ride, the end game trigger is getting down to 2 or less trains in your supply. So that's even a factor, right? How quickly the game comes to an end. Really, really neat. It also has a different bonus than the usual bonuses from the other maps, where you get the bonus for having the longest route or maybe having the most completed destination tickets. In this case, you actually have the longest, you get the most points, you get the 10-point bonus for having the most cities that you've connected to. So in this game, the small routes of 1 or 2 are actually more valuable than in your typical Ticket to Ride game, because if you connect to many cities, you have a good chance of getting an additional 10-point bonus. We also played Mercator, which we've been playing a lot of lately. And Mercator is just a brilliant, wonderful Uwe Rosenberg design, very abstracted all the way from the board to its components. The components, which represent different resources, are actually just tiny, tiny little cubes. My wife and I have talked about it. Like, why could the cubes have not been a little bit bigger? They are so tiny. It's like so easy to lose, so hard to grab and get a grip of. And what's interesting about it is that each of those different resources, those different cubes, which are different colors, each of those colors represent 2 different potential resources. That's how abstracted it is. Instead of creating 16 different pieces, you just got 8 different pieces to represent 16 different items. Really, really crazy. The board, instead of being a beautiful map of Europe, is just, you know, a bunch of squared spaces with the name of the country on it. So from a aesthetic perspective and a thematic immersion or thematic inclusion perspective, this game is not, you know, a big deal. But mechanically, it just works well. There's contract fulfillment, which is something that I've grown to appreciate in games, and I think that Uwe Rosenberg does it very, very well. I'll get to another game where he does that. And it's just neat, just manipulating the spatial manipulation of where you go to, because you choose which of the 12 different countries or locations you go to, and how they trigger and impact the surrounding economies, right? And just choosing your decision, not only to go where you're best suited to gain resources and potentially fulfill contracts, but also where you can go to stimulate the economy at a location that you want to visit in the future. Also, you have time tokens. Time is a resource in this game, a tangible resource. And the way you gain and spend the time is a very neat thing. We also played, again, by Uwe Rosenberg, at the Gates of Loyang. Rich, beautiful, wonderful game. One of my top 50 games of all time. Check out that video to see exactly where it ranks. But this game is just wonderful. It looks beautiful. You got all these different veggies that you're basically planting, harvesting, and selling to your customers. You have casual customers who are not really committed to you, but are willing to pay a pretty penny for your veggies. And you also have your regular customers who pay you a little bit less, but are less demanding in the sense of how much veggies they want from you, because they're coming back to you consistently. But they also have that high expectation that you're not going to leave them hanging for too long, because if you leave them hanging for too long before you supply their needs, you pay a penalty, which costs you points. So you got to have to like manage how many, you know, contracts you want with these, you know, consistent customers or regular customers, and how many you want with the casual customers, and balance that out correctly. And it's so cool because all the different veggies are represented by nice little cutout shaped pieces that look something like a representation of what that veggie would look like, or what you would imagine it to look like, which is totally different than Mercator as far as the component quality is concerned. The artwork on the board looks nice, all really, really pretty. Again, you got, you know, contract fulfillment. Basically your customers represent the contracts that you're trying to fulfill. Really, really nice and neat game. You know, a couple of special cards and character cards that affect you and help you in different ways, that help you trade your resources or your veggies for other different types of veggies. Really cool game. Awesome time playing it. We had a blast. We also played Sushi Go Party. Now, for a long time, all we owned was Sushi Go. And Sushi Go is a nice, light, simple game that I use more than anything as an introductory, like a basic course, a 101 into pick and pass card drafting, in order to upgrade and graduate people to 7 Wonders, which is one of my absolute favorite games of all time. But I do find it's a little heavy for your average non or casual gamer. And remember, that is who I mostly play games with. So I need to use something like Sushi Go, which is super duper simple, to just teach people that simple concept of pick and pass, so that when I do teach them 7 Wonders, I am not reteaching them the pick and pass mechanism. I'm simply teaching them the symbols of the different cards, the different spheres of civilization, and how they score you, right? And of course, the relationship between your neighbors and yourself. That's all I gotta teach, which is a lot, but at least I don't have to throw in the fact that they've never played a pick and pass card drafting game. So really, really cool, really useful. However, I have outgrown Sushi Go for anything else other than that. But my wife had still appreciated the game. So sometime last year, I bought Sushi Go Party, and that has breathed new life into the game for me. Now, mind you, As you know, if you've seen my top 50 games of all time, it's not a top 50 game for me. I don't even think it's a top 75 game for me. But this game wasn't even in my top 100 before, and it might be in my top 100 now, or at least somewhere on the outskirts of it. Because what Sushi Go Party does, it adds a ton of more cards. I think it triples, if not quadruples, the amount of content that came in Sushi Go, so that you can mix and match and create different types of games. So first of all, it adds to the replayability, but it also adds to the complexity and the weight of the game. Don't get me wrong, it's still a very light game, but the different types of cards that you mix and match together can create different ranges of level of games. It can make the game very light and easy and friendly and fluffy, or it can make the game a little bit heavier, a little bit more cutthroat, a little bit more challenging. And even just the idea of remembering how these different cards combine with one another and what's the best strategy to implement in order to win, even that adds a replayable value to the game, as opposed to regular old Sushi Go, which after a few plays you kind of figure out what you want to do, what's the most optimal strategy, and then you just rinse, wash, and repeat over and over and over again. It could get very repetitive, very redundant, and Sushi Go Party basically eliminates that. Again, it doesn't recreate the wheel. If you don't like the core concept of Sushi Go, or the theme of Sushi Go, or the cartoony artwork of Sushi Go, then you're probably not going to appreciate Sushi Go Party. But if what you were lacking in Sushi Go was variability, right? That variety, if that was what you're lacking, then Sushi Go Party definitely solves that problem. We also played Puerto Rico, which was one of my wife's absolute favorite games of all time. I like this game a lot too. My only knock on Puerto Rico has always been how it looks on the board. It's an ugly looking game. I feel like even by 2002 standards, when it was first published, it's still ugly. And definitely the fact that it hasn't gotten, when so many games, it keeps on circulating, it keeps on selling, it's still in print. And even so, it hasn't gotten an upgraded, tricked up, new edition. Like, it has these anniversary editions and these deluxe editions, and I look at them and they still look mediocre. They might look a little bit better than my copy, but not necessarily worth the monetary investment for the upgrade, at least in my opinion. But as a game, it's a cool game. It's a rich game. I actually beat my wife, Lily, which, I feel like lately I haven't been able to beat her at Puerto Rico. It's really become one of those games for her where she's just zeroed in and figured something out. But I was able to beat her. I think she started off with a particular strategy that usually works for her, but over somewhere in the middle of the game, she kind of switched up her strategy and went for something else. And I feel like that is what hurt her, and that is why I was able to win the game. I'm not complaining. We also played Kingdom Builder, which again is one of my favorites. It's a game that's relatively new to Lily. We've been playing this game a lot lately. Donald X Vaccarino game. I've talked a lot about it on the channel. And finally, for the games I've played with Lily, we played Sushi Roll. And I actually have Sushi Roll right here on the table next to me, and this is so cool. This game came out last year and I had to buy it because I had a feeling that I would like it more than Sushi Go, and I do. This game is much closer to making my top 50 than Sushi Go does. This is not in my top 50. Again, it might not even be in my top 75, but it has a chance at least, because I like this game a lot. It basically recreates the theme of Sushi Go, and it kind of simulates, or tries its best to simulate, that same pick and pass mechanism, but instead with dice. You're rolling dice and you're picking it apart, and you only roll the dice once for each round. You go through 3 rounds, just like in Sushi Go, and whatever faces of the die you've rolled, they're the faces. But what happens is you grab them and you each have like a little conveyor belt, which is like your own little player board, and you grab one and then you slide it to the other player. Unlike Sushi Go, where it's simultaneous, there actually is turn order in this game, so you can respond to your opponent's decisions. So going first has an advantage as far as, picking something first, but at the same time, going second has an advantage in that you can respond to your opponent's to whatever they pick, right? So it's neat in that sense. And it has all the same basic types of different food items represented, and different menu items, or different miscellaneous items like chopsticks and so on. But it has a slightly different way of scoring, right? The core idea of scoring and the relative ranking between the different items to one another is pretty much the same, but there are some subtle differences as to how the game scores. Again, I just prefer the dice rolling mechanism in this game, because it's not about luck per se, about the dice rolling. There is some luck always with dice, but it's more about what you're going to choose to invest in, what you're going to choose to draft, and how you can foil your opponent's attempts to draft something more suitable to them, or how you can hope that your opponent doesn't draft the dice that you're hoping for them to draft. Which again, you can interact in that sense with your opponent's decisions, because you're actually watching your opponent take their turn, as opposed to regular Sushi Go, where you're, it's simultaneous play, and after they reveal, you're like, oh, great, you took that one, right? Which is still cool. So Sushi Roll, really fun. If you like Sushi Go or Sushi Go Party, I have a hard time believing you will not like Sushi Roll. And even if you don't like Sushi Go, and if your problem with Sushi Go is the theme, then yeah, forget about it. But if your problem with Sushi Go is the gameplay, there's still a chance that if you don't like Sushi Go, you might like Sushi Roll. And those are the games I played with Lily. And finally, the last game I played this week, which was a solo game that I played and also recorded and uploaded for the channel. And it was a play of One Deck Dungeon. And this is a solo dungeon crawl fantasy themed adventure game where a player takes on the role of a hero. And you could play with 2 players, but this is really a solo game. The player takes a hero of their choice with a different, class, not necessarily race. I think they're all humans in this case, but a different class, and delves into the dungeon. And the dungeon is represented by 4 face-down cards that each represent a different door that takes you down a different path and a different encounter, a different challenge. Either some sort of peril or some sort of monster to combat. And you flip over the cards and you see what's on the other side. And then you roll dice according to your stats. So this is a real dice chucker of a game. But unlike your typical RPG style dungeon crawlers where you're rolling to have, to cross certain thresholds or numbered totals of your dice, what you're doing is you're trying to roll dice so you can allocate them or place them. It's dice placement on these different spots on each of the different encounter cards that basically need to be, covered so that you can successfully accomplish the encounter without incurring any damage or any other casualties and consequences, right? So manipulating these dice, and also when you defeat the monsters or successfully accomplish the challenge behind the encounter, you recruit that card and you choose for that card to be one of many things. It could either be an item for you, which would basically add to your stats, your player stats, or it can be experience points for you, which will help you level up to the next level. There's 4 levels in this game. You start at level 1. Or it could be a skill, which you slide underneath your player card, and basically it gives you a special ability that you can do once every turn. Or you can use it as a potion, if it has a potion, which is an ability that you could do. You spend one of your potion tokens, and it gives you, again, a special ability that you can do whenever you spend that token. And you're basically going through 3 levels of a dungeon. If you haven't checked out my video, you have to check it out, my review of this game, my playthrough of this game. You go through 3 different floors of this dungeon, and ultimately after that, you go to face the mastermind or the overlord, which there's 5 different overlords that you could face in this game, 5 different challenges. So there is some replayability even just in the base game. I haven't even played with a second of the mastermind. Every game I've ever played has been with the same overlord, so I still have lots of replayability. You have, I think, 5 different heroes that you can choose from. So again, there is replayable content in this small little compact box that you can take with you almost anywhere. You never have to depend on another player. It plays very, very well solo. And at a time like this, the time that we're living in right now, it's very convenient to have some very good, solid, replayable solo games. And that's absolutely what One Deck Dungeon is. And that's it. That's all the plays that I've had this week, all 9 of them. And that's all that I have for this episode of Monday Metagaming. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, stay tuned. Shortly, I will be posting my Wingspan board game giveaway. And if you don't own the game, or if you do own the game but you want to get it for somebody else, or if you want to get it and just sell it for money, whatever your reasons might be, whatever your motives might be, you do not want to miss it. Check out how you can sign up to win a copy of Wingspan. And that's it here from When Harry Met Board Games. I am Harry saying please stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun gaming. Take care. Bye-bye.